to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. Really want to thank every single person that has subscribed to this channel and our main channel, Dr. Mumbi Show. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. It's absolutely free. And please like and share the videos so that, it can hit those YouTube algorithms and more of our people can get the message. There's a massive changing of the guard among the melanated people in Eden right now. There's a massive change of the guard, beloveds. And that's kind of the message I wanted to bring this week, because it's really important for us. As I keep saying, any information you're getting should just be like the weather. You check the political weather, you check the spiritual weather, and may I be one of your, spiritual weather women or weathermen, whatever. And one of the things that's happening, my brothers and sisters got in touch with me from South Africa, of course, with the passing of the Zulu king, Goodwill Zwelithini. He died at the age of 72. And to show you how far we've come from who we were, he actually died in a Babylon hospital, unfortunately. He was one of the most influential traditional leaders of our time. And, he had been admitted to the hospital in KwaZulu-Natal last week to monitor. He had a diabetes condition. These are things. You see how far we've come from ourselves, beloveds? And there was all these messages of condolences that came in for him, and it was trending in South Africa, of course. And he was known as a very straight shooting, straight talking kind of king, that bloodline of Shaka Zulu, beloveds. But he died in a Babylon hospital. And, in the same week, also, here in Kenya, a mugumo tree fell. And for the Agikoyo nation and mainly the Bantu people, the mugumo tree is like the fig tree. It's a very, very spiritual tree. A lot of, religious rites or, cultural practices, as they like to, this culture word, are actually were done at that, at the foot of that tree. And all of a sudden it fell. And so, of course, all these elders, I don't believe those are the real elders, came out talking about, because people are frightened. They're like, does it show the end of an era, the end of a generation? What's going on? And for me, I really just have been feeling this thing there is going to be a change of the guard, beloveds. It's already happening, and it's not happening physically. It's not physical choices of man, but it's happening spiritually, where people are now entering their rightful positions. People are entering their inheritance, their rightful rulership. And it's going to be up to each of and every I to really become so sensitive that we now start to notice these leaders, because these are the ones that have been bequeathed with next. These are the ones who have been bequeathed with the necessary power, the necessary wisdom, the necessary connection to our ancestors, to the Most High, let's say that, and many, to nature. And they're the ones that can guide us through this turbulent times. And in many communities across Africa, like the Bantus, and Bantu just means the people. But in many nations across Africa, there was always, the generational handing over of power was a very significant thing. And we've kind of, here among the Agikoyo nation, we kind of fell off, those generations, and so many rites and rituals and everything was done, and these would now become the leaders of the nation, and they always guided us well, So with what we're seeing now, but then we entered now this political democracy, etc., etc. And so many of us fell out of those generational rights, and and those generational handovers. And what we're seeing now is the Musevenis of this world, and the, what's his name, Gabbo, whose son is the vice president, I think, of Equatorial Guinea, I'm not sure. But we're seeing that a certain generation among our people, and it's not just in the political sphere, but all of us take politics like it's some kind of sport here on the continent. But it's not just about politics, but in so many realms, there's a generation that has refused to hand over power. And so there's a generation that has missed their rulership, and yet our generation is ready and it is our time. And so now there is a spiritual handing over, beloveds. There's a spiritual handing over of power, and unfortunately there is a generation that will be skipped, because the certain generation held their power, and that generation did not do what they needed to do to get back their power. And there's a famous quote that says, freedom is not something that is handed down from one generation to another, but every single generation, beloveds, must fight for their freedom, for the freedom of that time, for the freedom of that age. And so now it's just like, as we return to ourselves, Sankofa, as we return to our systems, it's already happening spiritually. And I keep telling you, if you are not connected spiritually, or if your life is not mostly spiritual, at least on that level, then really you're skipping out on life, and someone else is making major decisions for you. But it's the end of an era, even for our nation, even for our people, beloveds. Those that have been in leadership, it's the end of an era for them as well. There's a generation that has been skipped. But because this new generation, which is a wartime generation, beloveds, a generation full of ancient ones, full of returned ancestors, full of spiritual warriors, walking among us. Some know who they are, some don't. Are you one of them? Are you one of them? That's why I keep saying, nothing is being decided physically. So if you've always felt something about yourself, how do you know if you're one of these new, the new leadership that is being groomed on the spiritual levels to come into a significant position of power? Let's take a short break, and I'll let you know when we get back about, how do you know, for example, whether you are one of the leaders, or what do you do to even discover if you are? Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Wake up, Africa! Welcome back, beloveds, to the Dr. Mumbi Show, Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? We start the week, of course, with, the passing of a Zulu king. I don't know if he's going to be the last Zulu king or if it's going to be handed over. Unfortunately, he did pass on in a hospital. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but what is the significance of that? Of course, I pass on my deepest condolences, from the nation at the foothills of Mount Zion, from our people, because he is one of the most symbolic traditional leaders that we still have. Many of our nations were destroyed, where we don't even, our kings and queens are just lost in obscurity. So we have to give, total honor and respect to the Zulu nation and what they've been able to do, and how they've been able to maintain their legacy and maintain their nation. It's definitely a story, worth upholding, and something that can be replicated as many of us go back to who we originally were. But what is the significance of this? As I told you, also, a mugumo tree fell here in Kenya, and for the Agikuyu people, I think it's a tree that was like 400 years old. There's all kinds of, sugar and spice that's been added. They're saying that the tree fell with a loud bang. Many thought it was a bomb, and then all the leaves dried immediately, like the spirit of the tree left. Has anything happened in your region, beloveds? Has anything happened in the Caribbean? Has anything happened across Africa? Definitely let me know in the comments below or send me an email, because I really believe that what we're witnessing now is a transition of power. Because there's a generation like let's say maybe our grandparents' generation that has held onto power too long, and they've been at a tug of war, with our parents' generation, and kind of fighting for it. And we've lost these generational rights that we used to, have, and how power used to be given from generation to generation. And each generation had to prove themselves, had to do certain things to develop themselves, to be ready to take that power. But now, many of us we didn't even know we were being prepared. We didn't even know we were being groomed. We didn't even know we were being trained. But if you look at your life and the experiences you have had, many of you, if you really want to know that you're one of these leaders that is coming into position, and it's not just like one person who's gonna, it's because if you look at your experiences, beloveds, you're literally like on your ninth life. So much has happened to keep you from here, but you're here now. Usually there are signs that you've gotten. Either yourself, either spiritually you've felt that you're here for a reason. Your ancestors, your spiritual guides have always kind of given you hints, and that you're here for a reason, that you have a very specific purpose, or people have come up to you and told you, you're a prophet, you're a queen mother, you're this, you're that. And it has resonated with you, kind of come to, trigger that awakening. So many of you, you know who you are, but what you lack is the faith in yourself, beloveds. Because, as I keep saying, we're born with agents and allies. And especially because of the critical role that we are about to play in the global arena, because this is not just about Africa or Eden or Zion or Al Kabul and whatever you want to call, the mothership, the ark. It's not just about that, but it's about the global playing field, because we are the rightful rulers. And so it's like you've always known who you are, but you've lacked the faith. And there's been so much that's been concentrated spiritually to make you doubt yourself, But you should now believe in the craziest thing you've ever believed in yourself. Take that to be true. I mean, people are in lockdown, the world, Babylon has fallen. What do you have to lose? And try and move into that. Try and, intuitively move into that. Because you'll see that many of us, are returning again. And if you look at your life, it's been like a fast track of many, many different experiences that have built you up. And when you compare your story to others, it's just like, whoa, people will either think you're bragging or you're exaggerating, but your life has truly been absolutely that crazy. And so that's one of the things. So, but you know who you are, beloveds. But sometimes you lack the faith. And so this is the season and this is the time. If you want to enter into the reason that you're here. And I'm telling you, beloveds, if you are not on track with the reason that you are here, with the assignment that you've been given, it makes you very susceptible to be taken out. And I mean, it's always been said that many prophets, you can't take out a prophet who's on assignment. You can't take on an anointed one who's on assignment. But if you don't know your assignment, if you're off assignment, if you're just, confused about who you are, that's the only time you become susceptible and weak enough for the enemy to penetrate you. So really, it's time to put aside those negative voices. Put aside all those naysayers, anyone who creates doubt in your mind. Put those people aside. And now start asking yourself, just who am I? Look in the mirror and ask, who am I? Who am I? What is my purpose? And if you already know, if you've already seen what in your mind you may be defining as fantasies of what you could do as you as this great leader, as this and that, start to believe in that, because it's true. And you have to realize that you have to move out of thinking about your life from a physical perspective and move into seeing it spiritually first. Because if you're not operating from that spiritual level, then really it's hard for you to navigate your life properly and move in power and in truth. Let me know if you'd like me to go into more about how to discover if you're one of these leaderships. But the transition has happened, beloveds. All of you who have been waiting, now is the time. Now is the time. Until next time. Tuko pamoja.